Hey everyone, it is Renee, and I am here with my friend Mary Mook. Mary is, I've known Mary for several years, and recently we were talking, and I was like, you have to come on to the Coaches Education Group and just share what you're doing now. And Mary has worked with many coaching businesses and helped them in so many ways. It was systems and just improving what they do and how they do it with efficiency and just great coaching skills. And so I want to introduce Mary today. She is a change management consultant, and she's going to be talking to us today about 4 ways that we can improve our businesses. So Mary, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Good to be talking to other people.
That too.
Yes.
So tell us what a change management consultant does.
People that are out in the corporate world may be familiar with project management. So I got my project management certification, and it's just really more a systematic way of getting things done. Change management is a little different in that it focuses on the people end of things. So let's say, for instance, a company wants to put in a new software system, and change is always not the most fun thing to embark on, right? So what this focuses on is really kind of establishing the commitment level on the part of the employees, and if they do have any hurdles that they need to overcome, establishing where they are, and then identifying that and addressing it. So many times it's just a little bit of intimidation, or we can figure out how they learn best. But it really is the people end of things, because if you don't really have your people engaged and involved, then your chances of things sticking and being able to work really kind of lessen themselves drastically. So, I guess I take a professional approach to, creating a team.
I love that. Just coming from the small business standpoint, I know I've had several businesses. I've been in business for 35 years, and I started in the event business. But it really transfers. There's a lot of things that transfer across all borders of all businesses, and so we can take these skills that we may have learned in one business and transfer them into another business. And we do need professionals to mentor us and to help us with the areas that we're not so great at or we're just having trouble with. So I love your title today, 4 ways to grow your business. And what I've been focusing on last year, I thought, awesome, we're going to do 2020 vision, aren't we? Isn't this going to be so wonderful? And we got through a few people, and then, we had a small pandemic. And so
radar.
I thought with 2021, we would really focus on pivoting and really, really talk about ways to use people like yourself and to work virtually, and how you can help people in the virtual space. You can do this from your beautiful office, and so can I.
Well, absolutely. It really has opened up all sorts of avenues, truly running things this way. So I'm glad that we have the opportunity to do this. So happy to help in any way that I can. So actually, the concept of 4 ways to grow your business actually used to be a class that I taught to my clients. It's actually a 6-week program. So we're condensing a lot of this into a small period of time. So I really kind of narrowed things down and kind of put together some talking points that we can focus on, just basics. So
awesome. All right. So what's number? Are we going to go 4 to 1 or 1 to 4?
we can do 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, I'm probably going to talk a little bit about, we'll probably only really hone in on 2, but as long as we got the basics down, anybody can reach out to me. I'm happy to come back on here. I'm happy to do whatever if you think it's meaningful. So, and if anybody is a prior client of mine, you have heard this already, so we're all good, but you're welcome to listen again. So yeah, there are 4 ways to grow your business. And when we put those together, it creates something called synergy. And, it's one of those where the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. And that's really what we want to try and focus in on. So the first way to grow your business is really to increase the number of the type of customers that you want, because that's important. The type of customer is going to be very important. And then the second one is to increase the number of times that they come back. So that's one way to help. And then increase the average value of each sale. And then the fourth way is to increase the effectiveness of the processes that you have in place. So again, as we talk about all of these things, not one of them really has to do with exterior marketing, although that's a necessary thing in this day and age. But these, as I had mentioned, these are conversations, these are questions that you can ask your clients, that you can do on a day-to-day basis. You can even do them with your clients here virtually, if that's the case and that's what your setup is. So it's just being mindful of a couple of things and taking it from there. Make sense so far?
Yeah.
Okay.
First, we're going to start with increasing the number of the types of customers.
Number of types of customers. Yes, that's what we're going to do. First and foremost, though, before we really get into that, I think it's important for people to understand that you really do need to know your numbers. You want to know how profitable you are. You also want to know where your expenses are, because that impacts your profitability too. And a lot of people kind of just sort of put that on the back burner and they're like, this is a necessary evil. I have to spend X amount of dollars for printing, publishing, whatever. But there are ways that you can cut those expenses that also help to increase profitability. But if we take all of those issues together, before I really break them down and talk about that synergy element. So let's say, for instance, when we take all 4 of those areas and we increase by 10%, reasonable amount, 10%. So let's say, for instance, we have 50 clients that we're seeing on a weekly basis, and we increase that by 10%. 55 people. We've dropped it up by 5. Okay. So if they had let's say they came in on a weekly basis and they had $100 average sale. If we compounded that, then we've got $100 sale times 10%. We increase that by 10% is $110. So we had 50 at 100. Now we have 55 at $110. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. All right. So then what we're doing is what if we increase their visit by 10%? And let's say their average visit count is maybe, 16 weeks. And we're able to increase that by 10%. So we're at 17.6 weeks. You normally would think if we increase everything by 10%, then we should get an increase in our business by 10%, right? What actually happens is that if we increased our friends from 50 to 55, increased to 110, and increased the visits to 17.6, it actually is an increase of 33.3% of your profitability.
Wow.
Right? So a 10% increase in those 4 elements yields a very measurable increase in your sales. So it really is worth it to put some focus in on just those small things. So, and in my other business, we used to just put Post-it notes on the computer or next to the phone. Just be aware, what's 10% this week?
I like that. That's that you just taught me something. Wow. Okay, so if we do a 10% increase in 4 areas of our business, that equals a 33% basically bottom line increase.
Right. If we took 50 clients at $100 purchase and on a 16-week average, coming in on a weekly average, that's $80,000 total. If we increase each one of those by 10%, then your total amount goes up to $106, almost $500, $106,500. So you've increased $26,500.
Wow, that's good stuff.
Right?
And I'm just thinking, we as small business people, a lot of times we're so in it, we can't even process that. But then when someone tells it to you, you're like, I need to do that right now.
Feel free to give me a call because we've done it, we've worked it. We always used to, when the phone would ring, everyone would shout in unison, "New client!"
I love it. Yeah, and some of that, when you speak of synergy, some of that is really creating that culture within our business to create that energy, and our clients feel that energy. And they don't feel like they're a 10% increase. They feel valued and loved and cared for. And yes, they walked out the door with a little extra this and a little extra that, but they feel valued by getting those things because you took the time to obviously share some good things with them and they just wanted more.
Right. So, and you bring up a really good point because one of the things that we'll talk about really, if we talk about these 4 elements, excuse me, so I've got, I have my notes here that I want to make sure that I'm touching on.
I like it.
Jump over to increase in the value of each sale. So this is traditionally some basic retail teachings, if you will. So, but I want to be clear, we all want to help more people. That's why I came from the business I came from. That's why I got into change management, because I want to make sure that people feel valued, right? Mm-hmm. That's all that we want, and we want to get them a good outcome. One of the important things, though, is to focus on increasing the value of each sale. It's not a pressure situation. But please understand, there are 2 things to take into consideration. If you're not getting purchases from your clients, then you're not able to help them and you're not in business anymore. So that's one possible element to it. But the other part too is being in tune with what their needs are and being able to then suggest alternatives for them or supplements to them that will make sense from their perspective, not yours. That's the biggest thing, is making sure that their needs are filled. So they can choose to purchase it, they can choose not to purchase it. But you need to provide all the options to them so that they know what to do. We talked about this when we were talking last week, is really just a matter of making sure that people feel valued as they're going through this process.
Yeah, and when what we were talking about is I carry a line of nutraceuticals for my clients, and it made sense to me that I already know that they have joint inflammation. I already know that they don't sleep. I already know, and if you can have products on hand like that, you're exactly what you said, Mary. You're helping them. So and it's funny, someone said to me recently, I was showing them this product line and how it can build an extra stream of income in their clinic, and they were like, well, I don't want my customers to think I'm making money on them. And I was like, you're in business, right? Your customers, I believe your customers know that you make money on everything in your clinic.
Well, and I'll give you some, I had back in the day when my babies were little, when they were little, they're all big now. Makes me sad. But back in the day when my babies were little, I always tell the story that I used to do in-home cooking demonstrations for a particular company, right? And my upline director was so supportive and so loving. I learned so much from her. And I always thought, well, I'm just going to do my thing. And, from even a recruiting perspective, I don't, not my gig. But then she said to me, you probably owe it to the people sitting in front of you to at least offer it to them. This is, we always talk about if you're, a server in a restaurant, you want dessert? Yes, no, who cares? Okay, no problem. But this is one thing that I can offer you, because you're doing them a moral disservice if you don't offer them that opportunity. They have the right to say no, and that's fine. But wouldn't you be sad if you knew that something that you didn't suggest because you made it about you,
Yeah.
they really could have benefited from something? So take yourself out of it and offer the alternatives to them.
I love that. I love that. That's such a good philosophy. I'm gonna start offering, would you like some sleep? It's like dessert. You go and you wake up.
Katherine. Yeah. Actually, I've been sleeping good lately, so that's a good thing. But you're right. That's what it is. All of these things go hand in hand, and you're offering complementary services or products. So it's not like you're just that you're, offering to sell somebody a hotel room in addition to,
Yeah, that's funny. So, okay, so we've now, great stuff, Mary. What is step 2 here?
Step 2. Okay. So what we talked about is increasing number of times that they come back. And one thing that I will talk about as far as identifying that specifically, we talk about, the advantages of social media, all of those, options that you see out there now. I've always been a big fan of just picking up the phone. And this isn't necessarily a cold calling situation. That's not what I'm talking about. So if you want them to come back, we've got to extend the value of how many times, why they would want to come back on an extended basis. But also, part of that is that relationship. So let's say, for instance, we've got a client that maybe went MIA. It's not a bad idea to just simply pick up the phone and say, hey, I just wanted you to know your name came across in my emails, and I was just thinking about you. It doesn't have to pertain to your business whatsoever. And you can even say, you don't have to call me back, because so many people are very busy. But it's just that thoughtfulness of just saying, hey, you're on my mind. I hope everything's okay. That's going to differentiate you from everyone else, particularly if it's heartfelt. That's what we're assuming, right?
Yes, particularly. No, I think that, as a coach, I've developed these great relationships with people, and I know them. Like, I know them. I know their heart. I know their pain points. And I do, if I haven't heard from someone, like, pretty much probably, I don't do it every single month. I'll probably do it every other month. I'll just send out a text and just say, hey, I haven't heard from you in a while. How you doing? And, maybe it's like, we got a special going on in the clinic. I was thinking of you. I know your favorite is, chocolate caramel, whatever. And, whatever it is, but I reach out to them with something, and I don't send them a pat message that, is cut and pasted to every single person. I send them their own message, hi, Jennifer, I have been thinking about you, because typically I have been thinking about them. And, every time I open the file drawer to pull somebody else's file, there's their file. And so I have been thinking about them. And I do want to reach out and say, hey, what's up? How are you? I know that you got married, or I know your mom had a birthday, or, we know the point at which they kind of fell off track. And sometimes it's after, they went on vacation or whatever it was, and we also know how much this meant to them, how much it meant to take off 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds. And we do want to reach out to them with that heartfelt, geez, I'd love to see you. I haven't seen you. And let's just talk on the phone. Let's just catch up. So yeah, it's so important, Mary.
I will say too, this happened a number of years ago, and this was, before, it was kind of just something that we had come up with on our own, if you will. So we were sort of doing an experiment, and I had come back into my business and was talking with the staff, and I said, I really think that our longevity with our clients actually has to do with what happens after they've completed their journey with us. And right? So if we can put that as actually the number one priority and start talking about it from the second they walk through the door, their first day, then we've got a greater shot. What happened was, when that element became the primary element and we discussed it that way, our business grew by 30%.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because we added anybody.
No, I'm so with you. Yeah, totally agree.
But again, here's another thing that I will talk about, because if we talk about the value of the third part, which is the value, and the fourth, to increase your processes and your focus on your processes, is knowing what those numbers are. The good news is that there's all sorts of point of sale options, if that is what you're doing, even just keeping track of things through QuickBooks, where you can monitor what is going on in your business at all times. So that's a super important thing to know. So what we used to do back in the day when I owned my business, I have some fantastic people that are running my business now. It's there.
Yes, I was just talking with them the other day, and lots of energy and heartfelt love, just like you.
Oh, thanks.
You connected with the right people to take over, and certainly when we sell our business, that's important to us.
I don't think I would have been able to do it if I didn't know how solid that crew is, Yeah. So we had a great team, and they've perpetuated that. They're doing that now. So I actually think, to my knowledge, I'm the only one that has sold my business formally and have had it continue on to the degree that it has in our line of work where we came from.
I'm not surprised by that, because it is such a personalized business that it's a very difficult business to sell. Personal businesses are difficult to sell. I do believe that.
Absolutely, but
it's not a diet mill. Turn it into a diet mill, and you'll be just fine.
Right. So, having said that, increasing the effectiveness of your processes too. So what we used to do is we kind of made it fun. We never wanted to we would make it a competition, but we didn't want it to be a competition that where our clients felt like we were competing, because we were just kind of competing against ourselves, if you will. But what we would do, and this is typical in any retail environment, I used to, when I've worked retail different times in my life, many, many times, but one of the things that happens, and this is one thing that my daughter is very keen on, when you are working in that type of an environment, you walk in through the door, you are told, or you're made aware, or you ask, what were the sales on this same day last year? What were the sales last week? We would have something called UPTs, units per transaction. And in a retail environment, typically it's the number 3. That's what you're going for, is 3 per transaction. So that's how we, looked at things in our business, if you will. So we would look at units per transaction. And again, we would look at what did we do this month last year? What did we do this week? And what did we do this day? And what we actually did was we would note, how was the weather? Because we do have 4 seasons here. And was there a snowstorm? Our location is famous for flooding. Did we have a flood that day?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, horrible. But that's one way to either cost justify or understand what is it that we're up against. Why did we have a Saturday morning and the income was 3 times what it normally is? What was that? Why? So we take notes on that so that we know. But again, the goal is to try and beat it a little bit. And that's what you want to always be aware of. What are we up against so that we know that we're doing better? Isn't that the goal? Always do better.
That is the goal. And I guess our next meeting has to be about all these systems and how you kept track of everything. I'm going like, how did she keep track of all of that?
Have it all. Happy to share it.
Part two.
Absolutely. Yeah. Once you get your systems down, it really isn't that difficult to do. And again, it is just practicing a little bit. And once it becomes a system, that's the thing, is the follow through. That's why I focus on change management, is making sure that people are embracing these things and follow up and follow through. That's always been.
And this crosses all kind of borders of any kind of health practice. I want to say hi to Wendy White. We know Wendy White Stevens, and Facebook doesn't let us see who's in a group. I just wanted to do a little shout out. If you guys are watching, tell us where you're from, who you are, what kind of business you're in. So this group has a wide variety of practitioners. It used to be just pretty much weight loss clinics, but we've opened it up to all different health and wellness practices. And I have a little puppy here, so if you hear a lot of stuff in the background, she's being a bad girl. Okay, Mary, what is number 3? What is number 3 on our list today?
Okay, so again, number 3 is increasing the average value of each sale. So there are a couple of ways that we can do that. And they have names to them. Like, there are techniques, which is great. So it really is just getting an understanding of the types of things that you can put into place. So one of those is cross-selling. That is a concept, and that's suggesting possibly a related product, or just like what you were saying, somebody's not sleeping. Sleep really impacts the progress that they can make, in your case, on a weight loss protocol. So that's going to be a complementary product. So that is cross-selling. It might not be, as far as your particular core element of your weight loss protocol, but it is something that is complementary. So you're going to be able to cross-sell. Upselling is what you would call an add-on. So you could upsell different packages with perceived value, like a gold standard and a platinum and a silver, whatever that may be for your particular business. But Then there's the upselling, adding things on. So if we talk about, gosh, you know, in our case with our clinic, let's say we have somebody that's a UPS driver in the summertime, all they're doing is sweating. We've got to add in electrolyte replacement for them. So that's an add-on sale, but it really is looking out for their best interest. They have the right to say no, that's okay, but that is something that you want to make sure that is going to keep them productive and happy and feel like you were thinking about them specifically. That's one of the important things. There's bundling. You can bundle things together. You know, putting things in gift packages, if you will. So, you know, we've seen those before. Water dispensers with electrolytes, and you know, maybe a business T-shirt, something like that. So, those are things that you can put together. You can also bundle different elements if you are offering, say, weight management or weight loss along with some laser services, if that's one type of a bundle too that you can put together. So there's merchandising. This is one thing that I feel very passionate about. I'm not a creative person, but I am a visual person. And I think it's really important that as a business owner, that you take a moment every few months and look at your business with outsiders' eyes. I'm actually taking a leadership course through the University of Notre Dame, and they were using actually Benjamin Moore as an example. And Benjamin Moore is, the concept had been set up very similarly to my previous company that I worked for, in that they were independent distributors. And so as such, they kind of had full reign of how they ran their businesses. And what happened is that the business owners could very well enter in through the back entrance every single time they're coming in to work. So they're not seeing their business from the outside, that a new client or a new customer would be coming through the door. So you have to do that periodically, is look, am I up to date? You know, or do I have a cookbook on the shelf that's 5 years old and is gathering dust?
It's, you know what, I think, honestly, Mary, I think that's such a difficult point, and such a, as an owner for me, because it's not my forte, it's a pain point for me. And if you don't have people in your business that can see that and change it and do it for you, it really, it's tough. I know. Boy, I've been very fortunate to have people that I you know, work with that they loved doing that, because I don't love doing that. So as you know, owners, we need to really you know, use different services, or even maybe you're, you know, somebody in your client base is an interior designer. They might do an exchange with you for services of coming each month and putting together those packages, those bundles, little gift baskets. And I noticed that some businesses are so good at always having a special on the front table and contests and all that stuff. That's just so not me. It's definitely an area I fall down in.
You know what? You're not alone. I was the same way. I just happened to have great people supporting me. However, I would say, like, some of these elements can simply be scheduled in on a monthly basis. And that, what I mean by that is simply, even just from a cleanliness perspective, it's not just making sure that your floors are clean. You want to make sure that your paint looks clean and bright on your walls, and that things aren't looking tired. Your product doesn't gather dust. That is just something where a deep clean after business hours on a short day, or, you know, early in the morning, once a month, that you're coming in and you're just doing some fine tuning on those things. Because if someone uses your restroom and happens to just look across the way and sees some smudges on the wall. What's the message that they're getting there? I mean, we won't, we'll just say general. But honestly, I mean, you want to make sure that things are spick and span, so that people feel valued. And that's an easy thing when you're in the day-to-day grind, Renee. I know it. I know it really well. It just
and so each of us needs to definitely be looking at those things from a different perspective, or having somebody we know consult with us or what have you. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Okay, Miss Mary, what's number 4?
Well, number 4 was increasing the effectiveness of each process within your business. So we want to make sure that you have, at the very least, that you have routines, because that will provide sanity for all of you. And I will say, shout out to Brianne once again. Back in the day, she was such a great gatekeeper, and we would have admin mornings every Monday. We would have a team meeting. We'd go over our statistics, and then we would know what we had coming up for the next week, just as you would do with any of your clients. What do you have coming up this week? So what do we have coming up this week? What do we have coming up this month? What sort of goals do we want to set for ourselves? And there was never any pressure. We just made it fun. So if it was, hey, we want 3 new clients this week, we're writing the number 3 on a Post-it note, sticking it on the computer, so everybody knows what that is. We're going 3. What's the 3? And then again, also walking through and setting aside some time, if you do have a staff, to work through some role playing. And that's another thing we can talk about another time, because if we talk about customer service and conflict resolution as it relates to customer service, that is a huge thing. And it really is the difference between life and death, because bad news travels fast. But a wonderful experience will keep somebody devoted. They may not shout it to the mountaintops, but it will keep them devoted. So those are important things to do. How do we solve challenges, and what's going to make the most sense? Can you empower your staff to make responsible decisions to enable them to solve the issue appropriately? But that takes practice, that takes role play, and that takes a system. So everybody knows what they're capable of doing and what they're empowered to do. So, but that's pretty much it, the effectiveness of your processes. So looking at your numbers and then making sure that everybody's on the same page.
Those are, you could, I look at that and I go, I need to do a whole bunch of those things. And so, Mary, let's just, as we close out, let's just talk about some of the ways that you've worked through the pandemic and helped businesses, and just maybe some pointers that you have as people are feeling, the overwhelm of some people are open, some people aren't, some people are scared, some people are shipping, some people don't know what to do.
Some people were unemployed.
And some people are unemployed. Yeah. So give us some thoughts on all of this, and as we deal with our customers who really need our services, especially now, if above all.
Right. Great question. And more so than ever, this is such a great opportunity to make sure that you are reaching out personally to your clients, to make sure that they are okay, because this blows 100%. This has not been fun for a lot of people. So it is just touching base with them to make sure that they're making their way through. For myself, because I've had downtime, and it's funny now because my days are so filled, I really choose to live in gratefulness. And so I've done a lot of extended learning. I'm learning all the time. I've been taking classes and reading, and if you would have told me prior to the pandemic that I would be taking classes and getting certifications, I would have said, you are out of your mind. I cannot read a book. I am too busy. I am all these things, but I committed to it. And I'm really proud of doing something different, if you will. So yeah, reaching out to your clients, that is definitely a huge one. And encouraging them, suggesting options for them, other avenues for them, not to go see other clients, but here's where you can get some more information. This is what I found to be helpful. Always suggesting, additional avenues for them to pursue, because some of them have downtime. Some of them are addicted to Netflix. I just realized that my husband's a retired narcotics detective, and I really kind of got tired of watching Narcos for 3 months.
I love Narcos.
It was good, but I was like, I kind of need to do some forward moving activities.
I got that. That's funny.
So yeah, learning and just making sure that people are touching base with one another, because this can be very, very isolating too.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that with springtime, we see some improvement, and with the vaccination, and we can start to get back to some semblance of.
Yeah.
I don't use any of those phrases that everybody uses with respect to all of this. It just, looking at things differently. So.
Looking at things differently is the biggest piece of all of this, and I will say that I feel very blessed, as you were talking about, that I did have some systems in place. I did have an online website. I had been virtually coaching, so I had that set up. Now, I had to teach 99% of my clients how to use Zoom, and that was okay. And at first, some of them were like, nope. I will call you, Renee, but I am not Zooming with you. And now that they're people deprived, they're like, when do we get to Zoom? I'm like, I can Zoom with you every other week.
Fair enough. It's interesting because, we've done so much coaching within the capacity of from where we came from, right? So I went and made the decision to get formally credentialed, mostly in executive coaching. And one of my professors was demonstrating a role play coaching scenario. And she actually took herself off camera. So the whole conversation was done while it was done on Zoom. None of us were looking at her. And that helped me to comprehend and to hear the client on a bit of a different level. I mean, you want to see people for sure, but sometimes just intense listening brings up some other questions that you might be able to help somebody with.
Yeah, absolutely. We never know what people are thinking, or I do talk to my clients at a very deep level. I always say, you and I are going to get to know each other real well. We're going to become besties. For you to change your life, you have to be willing to talk to me and to share your deepest, darkest moments, because that's where change is going to happen. So yeah, I love that. Well, Mary, thank you so much for spending your time with me. We're working on an agenda of different ways to help our businesses and improve business through the pandemic, and change and pivot as we now, have to change our business models, and all of us have had to change our business models. I was just online with one of my business partners in my supplement business, and they are two ladies from Google. Google has massage therapists that are still employed, but they're employed from home, and they meet with employees from Google to help them with sciatica or different issues, help them to, teach them foam rolling techniques, or, just different things. And I thought, isn't that cool? We're just shifting and changing and transforming the way that we do business. And we really can, across all of this, we really can. And Mary, you and I don't think we've ever met formally, But we met a couple weeks ago and just really connected and had such a fun conversation. And that's the cool part of all of this. So don't stop. Don't wait until the pandemic is over to go for, business to go back to normal. It's never going back to your old normal. We have a new normal now. So shift right now. Start shifting. Use some of the things Mary talked about today. What were you going to say, Mary?
Well, you bring up a really, really good point. And here's one thing that I always like to remind people of. So let's say you are on social media and you are seeing people pivot and approach their businesses in a different fashion. That's okay. Sometimes I think people feel like, oh my gosh, I'm behind the times if I'm only picking up on this new approach now. And that is not the case. And the reason why I say that is because one of the things we didn't talk about is something called a unique core differentiator. And that is you, the business owner. So you might see things occurring out there. Don't be intimidated by it. Embrace it and embrace you and how you do business. Because you, Renee, there's nobody like you. There isn't. And you need to put more, not you personally, but we small business owners need to put more relevance into that.
I totally agree with you. I think that it's very easy to be looking at other people in the way, oh my gosh, they're doing this and I'm not. And oh my gosh, they're doing this and I'm not. Only do what is your own integrity, your own, just like Mary's going out and taking classes for the first time, do something new, definitely change, definitely embrace change. But don't do things that aren't you. It's like, I look at different social media and someone said, Renee, you got to be on TikTok. And so I looked at TikTok and I was like, yeah, I'll be on TikTok, but I am never going to be dancing. I'm never going to be jumping around. I'm never going to be any of that. I'm just going to be me on TikTok. And our TikTok is growing, albeit slowly, but,
May I make one more comment, one more observation? It just was something that happened to me, and I don't mean for it to sound super deep, but I lost a very, very dear friend last week. Dear friend. She fought really hard with cancer, and her name was Midge. And I posted it on Facebook. At the end of Midge's funeral, Midge got a standing ovation because Midge was a life well lived. And my point is, Midge, she was on social media, but Midge was Midge. And that's what made her so fantastic. And I think it's so easy to lose sight of those things and to feel the pressure that social media, and of course we want to market our businesses, but we all need to rely on how awesome we are as human beings. And the reason why we got into this business to begin with, because we didn't have those things back when we started our businesses, right? So the goal is to really to be and to focus on your beingness rather than feeling that pressure to do. So if keeping your clinic clean makes you be, shows who you are. If being on TikTok shows who you are, that's okay. It's just, you have to emphasize who you are. That's the important thing.
That's right. Be yourself, because that's how you really have built your business. The reason that you have a successful business is because of that. I have someone that is FaceTiming me.
Okay.
My next meeting, our whole world now, our whole world is my next meeting. Oh my God, Mary, this has been so wonderful. I've had such a good time. And yes, okay, we touched on a couple subjects, so systems, and there was one other.
Increasing your value of each purchase that you're making.
No, I'm talking about future.
Oh,
Future segments with you and me. We're going to do a system segment and
segments. We can do focus really hard on unique core differentiators, how to make the most of who you are and capitalize on that. Building your brand. And I know that's your thing, right?
Love building your brand. So Mary and I will be, maybe we can make this like a monthly. And bring everybody this year. We're going to be bringing good stuff, good education to this group. Invite your friends. A lot of people watch this in the replay because they're doing biz right now. But that's what this is for. It's a collaborating place. That's what this group is built for. It's for health practitioners to share. So please do tell us who you are and what you need. Thanks, Mary. Mary coming in from Philly. I'm coming in hot from Vegas. And
Pittsburgh, Philly and Pittsburgh.
Oh no! Oh, Pittsburgh! Oh, sheesh! No. See, I don't know what the heck I'm talking about.
Some Pennsylvania town. It works.
That's okay. There's a couple of people in Nebraska that I always in Iowa that I always say are from Nebraska. I'm always getting in trouble with my spots. It's a good thing I'm not an entertainer and have to be on a different stage every day. So awesomeness. This is fun. And okay.
Thank you so much.
Happy Valentine's, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, Mary. Take care.
Thanks.
Talk.